Only advice for anyone trying to make it work in media in 2025 is get good at as much as you can. We all work in sports. I wouldn't say any of us are sports geniuses. I stumbled into sports. But I could write, I could edit, I knew how to do audio, I knew how to record video. I went and got an MBA so I could learn the business side. And I think that's sort of the unifying thing with this whole crew is that media is changing so rapidly that you have to learn the stuff. You gotta learn the tenets of journalism, how to be a good journalist, how to find the truth, how to report stuff out, some laws about one party, two party consent states, stuff like that. And then it's just be good at a lot of stuff because it's going to change. The world is going to change, and the platforms, way things are going to be delivered. You need to be good at a lot of different things, and yeah, that's helpful.
I think a newsletter is actually a really good thing for a high school group to work with and deal with. It's very applicable to everything else, and the biggest thing for that is just to make it your own and stretch out and see what works for you, what you like. Read a lot of others and see what works for them and what you like from that. But the most successful people doing newsletters that we know, and we have a bunch of our group has branched out and built audience with that, is people that make it their own, that have their own voice and figure out how they want to kind of work it into it. And then they just build an audience that wants to read it. And that audience will follow you well beyond when you graduate in the newsletter. And that getting into this career, if you can build an audience that you, I'm not going to say own, but they are going to follow you wherever, it becomes even more valuable and helps you out as a career because you say you get me, but you get these people that know my voice, know who I am. I built it up with them with something directly, even too, with a newsletter where you have an audience that is kind of captive with it. You can really make it your own. So I would stretch out and experiment, and experimenting is where you get survivability in this industry, but also where you can really make good new breakthroughs that people get excited about.
I'll talk a little bit about editorial content for a second. I think there's been a trend towards, because we're in more of an influencer era and a opinion era, takes or whatever we talk about them in sports. If you go into sports, literally any of the roles that y'all have talked about, it could be working in stadium on camera, it could be in television, it could be as a columnist or writing. Your job is not to be an expert. Your job is not to have the strongest opinion. Your job and the way that you develop an audience is to ask questions as a proxy for them. You have to develop the confidence to not always know everything. And what I mean by that is that you have to be comfortable, be it on camera or in print, exposing that you are learning with the audience. Otherwise, the audience will not have a way into the content. If you're constantly talking as an authority, you're talking past people. So I do a show every week where I'm on with someone who has way more institutional knowledge or acumen. If you guys are dealing with football specifically, it's great that if you learn scheme. We've talked about this for years. It's awesome if you guys learn football scheme and you talk with the coaches about that. Your job is to not be them. Your job is to educate the audience and essentially work as a transmission device, and that involves having enough confidence to have humility, which is a juxtaposition.
I'm going to say something that might seem blindingly obvious, but it has been helpful to me. When you get lost working in sports, talking about sports, engaging with sports in any way, the easiest thing to remember is that sports are about people, at their heart. The people who play them, the people who coach them, the people who root for them. It is a hauntingly human thing that we do in a world that sometimes feels very inhuman or very inhospitable to humanity. And I find that to be a really useful grounding principle is whenever I'm sort of how am I going to dig into this, or what do I have to say about this? Remembering that it's all people with the same fragility and insecurity and the same sort of natural drama that we all experience. That's the common element. And so when you get stuck, remember that sports are just about people.